Hi again guys, and welcome to another custom special projects build on GT6, and this time, as we often do, it's a custom build, but it's one which is inspired by elements of real-world vehicles, such as the Lotus Elise GT1, the Exige, the 240R, etc. Various different Lotus models which have more of a harder edge, more of a track-biased nature, and kind of a racing feel. Now, this particular build is, of course, as you'll have seen from the title, a cup car style build for the newest shape Lotus Elise that's currently featured on Gran Turismo. Now, this particular vehicle actually has a really good selection of visual upgrades. It has some of the most interesting visual changes that you can make to any premium car on Gran Turismo. Many of them have a couple of options, but they don't tend to change the car that much beyond just a carbon chin splitter and maybe a fancy rear wing. With this car, you really can change the look of the car quite drastically, and we have done so, as you can see. So first of all, we will run through the visual changes that I've made. Then, of course, the mechanical setup, and finally take it out to benchmark the car around a circuit. Now, as far as the visual upgrades on this particular model, you've got a couple of options. As far as the body kit in particular, you've got the standard kit, of course, which you could go for, of course. You've got the slightly upgraded kit, in particular with the chin splitter, and of course the full body conversion, which makes a pretty drastic change to the back end of the car as well, by removing the number plate or license plate, depending on where you live. As far as the flat floor, I would recommend it, which again changes the visuals of the car, makes the diffuser more aggressive, really contributes to that track appearance. As far as the rear wing, you've got options. You could go for a much larger racing style rear wing, or more of an Exige style wing, or I've personally gone for the slightly more ducktail-esque wing. Again, it's down to personal preference. It's not a real car, so you can adjust it to basically whatever you want. And as far as the other changes, you can, and this, in my opinion, is a really good custom part, you can change it to being a hardtop. And for me, that really improves the look of the car. I much prefer the Elise with the hardtop conversion. But again, if you don't like that, then of course it doesn't really matter, just don't fit it. As far as the rims, I've opted to leave them the standard size, and I've gone for one of my personal favourite choices of rim on the game, the BBS RE MGs. And as far as the additional meters, which in this car, again, are better than many of the other cars in the game, because often the additional meters to me look a bit tacky. They're just sitting there on the dashboard, and they really do stand out, but not in a good way. Whereas with other cars, such as this one, they're blended into the rest of the car's construction really nicely. There are some other vehicles as well, like the SLR McLaren, that it really does look far better with. Now, of course, for the paint, you've got infinite options, because it depends totally on what colour you want the car to be. You could have an entire lineup of these cars all in different colours, and that's really the spirit of cup car racing. But as far as the colour that I've gone for, there's kind of good and bad news. The colour that I wanted to go for was something which would be a tribute to both old school British racing green, and also to some degree to the Lotus Elise GT1, in effect. And the particular colour that I've gone for is, as you can see, called Pistachio. The problem is, I cannot find which car that came from. Now, I'm sure there are people out there who know which car it does come from, and if you do, feel free to slap that in the comments, in particular for the benefit of others who would like it as well. But the main reason why I went for that colour, apart from the ones which I already mentioned, is that it's brighter than British Racing Green, which is a very dark green. And personally, I just prefer that lighter shade so you can see the details of the car more, and just gives it a stronger overall appearance. As far as the rims and also the brakes, I've gone for the solid glitched black, which of course comes from the Peugeot VGT car. If you don't want to pay out that kind of money for the Peugeot, or maybe can't afford it, then you could instead go for the Jaguar S-Type, which gives you ebony, which is another great black to go for. So that's it overall for the visuals. Again, I've added the race plate with the number 76. It totally depends what you want. You could have the circular one, the square one, etc, etc, or none at all, of course. So that's it for the visuals. What about the mechanical setup? Well, let's go and check it out. Now, as far as the tuning side of things, as you can see, the setup is a significantly more modest one than you might be expecting. Far less power than you'd probably assume I'd have given it, a far lower PP than the visuals of the car would have you believe. And the reason for that is because I wanted this vehicle to be something which could be adjusted to a personal driver's style, preference and intended purpose. So in effect, this is built to be a lower level cup car, but with plenty of room to increase that power and performance if you want or need to. Now, as it happens, this build is not designed at all for straight line performance. It's purely designed to be a small, affordable feeling, beginner friendly cornering machine in particular. It's small, it's light, doesn't have a huge amount of power to deliver, and as such is really easy and fun to drive. And also fairly affordable to build compared to some of our other tunes. Now, I've gone for racing hard tyres. Of course, that depends on the situation and preference. Racing brakes, obviously. As far as suspension, we've got the ride height as low as possible. Springs have increased significantly to 750 and 1275. The dampers to 5. Anti-roll just a little bit to 4. With neutral camber and tow. We'll come back to the gearbox in just a second. For me personally, I've gone for halfway on initial torque for the diff and acceleration and braking as low as possible. But of course, as always, feel free to change those to personal preference or just to find what may work better for you. As far as power, we do have an oil change, so you need to bear that in mind. Plus, I've gone for simply the race exhaust. And as far as the weight, very simple again, just the full weight loss package, and I've increased the rear downforce as far as it can go. Now, as I said, you can increase the power basically as much as you want. Just go to a higher power, a higher PP, and the rest of the tune will pretty much keep the car in line. Obviously, it may become a little bit twitchier the more power you give it, but there's certainly room to make the car more powerful if you want or need it to be. And finally, for the gearbox, of course, it's not a straight line performance machine, as I said, and if you do plan to increase the power, you will need to change the gearing. In particular, increase the auto setting, lower the final drive a bit more, and of course, that will adjust the performance to actually unlock more power, get it down to the road more efficiently, and just get more speed out of the car. But for this, you just don't need longer gears. So we've gone for an auto setting of 130, then individual gears of 3.3, 2375, 1.8, 1450, 1.2 and 1025 with a final drive of 4. And to be honest, even that is a little too long a final drive. You could go for 4.2 or 4.3 quite comfortably. With the current setup, this car only does around 120, 130 miles per hour because you do have a lot of downforce from both the flat floor and the rear wing. So again, adjust it as you see fit. But that's it for the build, with tons of room for variation for each individual person who builds it. So now let's finally take it out, of course, to a racetrack. As I mentioned just now, of course, the overall manners and personality of this car in particular, I was going for an image which is very beginner friendly and feels very much like a more personal race car, something which feels more attainable, more affordable, the kind of machine which you could imagine seeing on a track day or just a weekend race between a number of drivers who own them. That more homely feel than a full-on GT3 or GT1 style machine, but definitely with room to increase the power if you want it. And of course the performance will increase accordingly. But overall, if you decide to use this build, or obviously a variation of it, I hope you find it fun first and foremost, and potentially useful for racing as well. And if you'd like to, of course, keep up with other tunes like this and you're new on the channel, you can do that by subscribing down below and checking out the playlist at the end of this video. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.